Showing that you both received and responded to feedback is one of the most fundamental things you must do in the review of your assignment or review of your sports leadership sessions. I'm going to show you some things about that, and as you see below, we're going to do lots of examples. But before we do that, I basically want you to be aware that as far as we're concerned, why have I done it like that? As far as we're concerned, I'm going to get rid of that completely. There are 4 types of feedback. Let me just put them in some kind of dotty fashion. I don't know what I'm doing here. So the first form of feedback is from participants. So think about that for a second. You can ask the players, the participants, the kids, if it's kids you're working with in the group, how they experience your session, what they think, what their recommendations would be. Now, they'll often be children. They might not give you as much information, as technical information as, let's say, an experienced coach would, but that's useful. That is why we also want to ask from the supervisor. Okay, so you've probably got your teacher or a club coach or the head coach who's going to be observing your sessions or available there around your sessions. You should ask them for feedback. They're going to give that to you, but make sure that you action it as well. Now, this one's an interesting one. From observers. Now, what do we mean by observers? Do we mean someone that's formally in the... There's an E in there. Someone that's formally in your session doing an observation form for you? It could be, but this is likely to be people like parents, other coaches, or other coaches. It could be someone else who's coaching with you. They can provide feedback, but parents is a really good one for you to think. They very often come and watch their children participate in things. So can you ask them for what their view would be? And the one that is completely free, involves no one else, and you can do no matter what, is self-analysis. Now, look, I'm going to say something which is going to sound pretty grave. I often separate the world into people who can self-analyze and be what I would call self-realizing, looking at your own strengths and weaknesses, and those that can't. It really is a decent distinguishing line for how people perform in different roles, but self-analysis is something you must engage with, and you must look back on your sports leadership and address that. Now, we're interested in how that appears in a write-up in your coursework. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at this. The players completed a questionnaire. I'm going to come back to actually methods of review in another session, but the players completed a questionnaire. So this is obviously from participants. And one set of responses suggested that I needed to more clear when I demonstrate. So more clear. So clear feedback. Where from? The participants. Have a look at this one. I handed all the parents, these would be observers, right, a feedback sheet and a pencil, and asked them to submit it at the end of the session. The feedback was fascinating, and I've taken a great deal of confidence from the supportive comments. So guys, can you clearly see how that up here would be from the observers, the parents, right? Whereas the previous one, this one, was from participants, yeah? Let's have a look at a couple of others. The lead coach spoke with me after the session and told me I'd done really well. She specifically told me that I'd used my voice well on a windy day. Now, voice, of course, we're going back into the sort of communication and use of language, the attribute side of this, so that's been built in as well. But what we've clearly got here is a lead coach. This is a supervisor type person who's done that, and super feedback as well. During today's session, nice grammar here. We've got the possessive, apostrophe, and we've got the comma to make the subordinate clause. I know you're not interested in grammar, but I like grammar. I can't help myself. Forgive me for trying to encourage you to be grammatically accurate. Anyway, I'll stop going on about it. During today's session, I seemed to speak more confidently when in front of the group doing demos. Unlike other sessions when I felt nervous, great comma. Today's demos, great apostrophe. Today's demos were much more like the real me. Now, can you see how this is self-analysis, guys? Oops, self-analysis. Nobody's telling the person this. They're reflecting on it and thinking about it. And by the way, I mentioned a term before, which is a really nice one for life, and it's called self-realization. Basically, self-realization is knowing your own strengths and weaknesses and working on both. It's a beautiful thing. I don't know if you want to incorporate into your coursework, but if you can self-realize, you're a powerful individual, let me tell you. Next one. I've noticed a big change in how I use space in my leadership. I have noticed in I use. So this, of course, is going to be self-analysis again. A few weeks ago, I felt the participants were a long way away and that the working area is quite vague. Now, by using colour-coordinated cones and grids, the sessions are under control. So this is clearly self-analysis. No one's told them this. They figured it out for themselves. Another one today, my head coach, so this is going to be a supervisor, isn't it, gave me direct verbal feedback, a form of feedback, and highlighted that I needed to stand in a different place when leading swimming sessions. So that's, I mean, it's an absolutely phenomenal, this is literally a bit of feedback I got when I was a first year PE teacher. Did I write this? Based on the feedback, I realised that I need to be visible to all the swimmers when they're in the water. I cannot tell you how good that comment is, because that is a beautiful thing a student's written there, because that is actually a really challenging thing in swimming teaching and swimming coaching. Really impressed. But that's about, of course, the supervisor. A couple of others. A parent approached me, so this is going to be an observer, and gave me some really useful verbal feedback. They told me that I looked really smart and that the participants were listening to every word. Look at those quote marks, guys. They literally quoted the observer and what they said. What a lovely thing to be told as well. And isn't it nice to receive praise, especially when you've earned it? I gathered all the players and asked them to write down one thing they liked about the session and one thing they wanted to be different. The feedback was extremely helpful. So guys, can you see how that's about participants? Now, this is all lovely and dandy, isn't it? Me showing you examples. I don't think there's any more, are there? No. It's all lovely, but the point I want to make, guys, is that this person or these people clearly address this. All four, which your coursework not only must do, but will, because you're a good student and you want to get it right. And go and find that information, take that feedback, and you'll do a beautiful and magnificent write-up. Cheers.